everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George Affleck.
And it's time for...
Baby, you can drive my car unspun. A lot of car talk today, I think.
There is. I see where you're going with that. Before we get to road pricing in Vancouver, let's just touch on the fact that with the COVID-19 numbers spiking across the country, really, but certainly here in British Columbia, we are seeing the surge and the doubling, the 13-day doubling, new health orders coming into play. Please follow public health orders. Please wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, stay 6 feet apart, wear a mask if you're in places where you can't be 6 feet apart. Like, here we go.
Yada, yada, yada. All that stuff.
Yada, yada, yada. Also, good news is that now it's the swirl and spit in BC. We no longer have to worry about getting the swab up the nose.
Oh, swirl and spit.
For everybody. Boom.
Virtual high fives.
Dodged it. I have no touching. But you know what, George? I want to dive right in on something that I know is affecting you. The small business piece of this COVID-19 puzzle. I mean, let's unspin what we're seeing actually happen right now. How's business for you?
Well, I'm in communications, and it's not easy. Let me tell you, as a small business owner, it is, I've managed to survive through this process over the last 9 months. A lot of marketing agencies and communications companies have folded or have shut down temporarily because of the client base. My clients are quite diverse, and I have manufacturing clients and product clients that are, fairly safe. But getting new clients is, getting people to make decisions right now is tough. I know there's some agencies that it's easy, but I'm finding it's just definitely a challenge. But I'm not as challenged as some of my clients. If we have a couple of restaurant clients, obviously they're challenged. So I hear, I live it every day as a business owner. And I also, because I have so many clients that I hear from them all the time, and they're quite diverse, from restaurants to manufacturing companies to dentists to, these are my clients. So you hear their stories every day. I get them every day, and we deal with, because we're marketing them, we have to have this deal with their challenges to get them business. So they don't go out of business. So, luckily none of our clients have gone out of business. But there are a lot of companies, as we've heard from Bridget Anderson at Board of Trade, a surprising number of businesses in Vancouver have disappeared, gone. 6,500, I think she said, right?
She did. She said 6,500. Bridget Anderson at the Vancouver Board of Trade, a former colleague of mine. We worked together at Vancouver Television for years. Incredibly strong-minded and a great communicator. And I'm finding it fascinating to watch how seemingly fearless Bridget is in terms of really putting out there on social media and having a voice, particularly where this newly passed climate, what's it even called? The climate
emergency, whatever. Passed this week, and it includes fee for driving into the city down the road, and increased parking costs across the city. So
So wait, George, if I may.
Yeah.
So
we've talked about
let's unspin this just for a sec.
Yeah.
We're going to make one of the most unaffordable cities in the world, certainly in Canada, even more unaffordable in its downtown core that has already been incredibly hollowed out, and with things such as the highest and best use property taxes coming in, like almost wiping out the mom and pop small businesses already. And now we're going to make parking in front of those businesses more expensive in the name of climate change?
It's driving into the city that they're talking about. This is basically the mobility tax to drive into the city, much like London, England has, and major cities that are large cities. In London, it's like 10 million people in London. They had traffic issues. They had a good subway system, but it couldn't handle the traffic as well. And so they said, we got to deal with this traffic. And they had lots of smog in the city from traffic. And so they, more than 20 years ago, implemented a congestion tax coming into the city, and you have to pay this fee. And so Vancouver on its own wants to implement this in Vancouver. And really it's targeted to the downtown core and to the business areas, Broadway, all the way down to downtown. where most of the businesses in Vancouver are. And so Bridget
Right, so it's
Anderson,
like Clark to Burrard, is it?
basically, yeah, and then Broadway down, basically, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's so Bridget Anderson, generally the CEO of the Board of Trade, and she's the new CEO, is quite cautious about politics and speaking against publicly or being aggressive against city council decisions because, of course, they have to work with the city on many other projects. And so, surprisingly, yesterday she came up very, very strong and basically saying, "What the hell are you doing? Adding these costs potentially to getting into the city, as well as the parking stuff, which is a bigger issue." When we're all struggling right now, as I talked about earlier, how so many businesses are struggling. There are a few businesses that are succeeding because of this, and they're benefiting from whatever they're doing, which is great if they're do good work.
Free market.
But most businesses are struggling, and taxation is a big part of that. If anybody pays triple net in Vancouver, and if anybody understands triple net, it's basically you have your rent, then you have the service fees that you pay in the building, and then there's the taxes. And so those three things are how you pay your monthly, whatever it is, your rent, your lease. For me, my taxes are actually higher than my my rent. So I negotiate a great rent, but I can't negotiate the taxes because they're basically flat. And so a lot of businesses face that challenge. We're going, I really negotiated a great rate with my landlord, but I'm getting screwed by the city of Vancouver. And it's frustrating because you're sort of going, what is the city doing for us? And now you're going to add this congestion tax or this mobility tax or whatever you want to call it to stop people from coming into the city when there's no alternative set up. There's no magical train that's coming in that's going to replace these people. If you walk downtown, we've talked about this before, I live downtown. If you walk downtown, and I left Joey's on Burrard and Robson a couple of weeks ago, and it was a Thursday night, which usually would have been packed. There were more staff at 10 o'clock than there were more staff than there were people eating in the restaurant or having drinks. Alcohol was cut off at 10. They basically closed the restaurant and leave. I walked home from Burrard down to Yaletown. There was no cars. I was the only person on Burrard and that walking towards where I live. It was weird. It was like a ghost town. And this is 2 weeks ago before this decision was made. So her argument is that, what are you doing? We're already getting killed here. There's nobody down here right now. And they argued, oh, well, this is 2 years down the road, this town, this is not tomorrow. But still, it's this attitude of being out of touch with what's going on.
Read the damn room, guys. Read the damn room.
Help us.
Help us.
Help us.
Yeah, help us. How about looking at the books and seeing where a little extra is being spent and cutting back on that? How about no new designer furniture or redecorating of anything at all until the pandemic's over? Make that announcement. Make some noise that is going to make people excited and happy that you're our leaders. You are leading us. Because this to me, George, is just, and every time I hear somebody, you don't understand. Jody, you don't understand.
You don't care about the
2025.
Yeah.
Of course I care about the environment. Of course I understand that we need to make plans. In the middle of a pandemic, telling me that it is about to get A, more expensive to go downtown, and B, putting my friends and family and fellow Vancouverites in jeopardy business-wise because they're already at their absolute wit's end. And I mean, like, even the ones that used to be the gold mines are now maybe going to shutter their doors. Like, this is really unbelievably tone deaf from my perspective. I would vote against these people because of this. This is a voting issue for me.
What are those 43 communications? Had to be said. I mean,
okay, product placement. Have you tried this? It's a Canadian company.
Are you drinking booze during our podcast? What is that?
Yes,
what is that?
It's Sparkmouth sparkling water. You smart ass. It's a grapefruit flavor. It's delicious. You know what? It's very delicious. I'm telling you.
It looks delicious.
It makes me feel better about those.
I have my straight vodka here today. It's just
well, as you do.
As usual.
So speaking of municipal politics, because we're going to continue to talk about that road pricing, but I want to talk about the non-presser presser that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I've heard from some journalists out there that they were watching it online and they're like literally like laughing because it was.
Okay, so we know what we're talking about, but just so our listener knows, yet again,
I don't want to even talk about it. Just like,
there is a non-presser held this week by Mayor Kennedy Stewart to announce that he's doing what, George?
He's going to write a strongly worded letter to the federal government about the legal decriminalizing drugs, basically, which has been in conversation. And in fact, I think we actually, when I was there, we wrote a strongly worded letter about this issue from council. It's something that has been talked about for a long time. The federal government has even talked about it. The prime minister has talked about this idea. It's certainly
Dr. Henry has talked about it.
Dr. Henry, Patty, what's her face? Daly.
Yeah.
Daly from the Vancouver Coastal Health. Yeah. These are. This is not news, certainly. So, and in fact, the police generally are not charging people with these kinds of drug possession issues. So it kind of already is decriminalized. There was when I was in council, there was this thing called marijuana, and we did these marijuana stores. And basically the decision was, and I always had problems with, because I argued that we are giving them a false sense of security, these marijuana stores, by letting them open up. But the argument by Vision, to their, maybe to their credit, was that we need to push the boundaries on this issue in order to get change from the federal government or whoever down the road. And so it's an interesting argument, and I said, well, but when the regulations come in, all these retailers will face the new challenge that those regulations will, and as a result, that's what happened. That said, the possibility, if the mayor of the city really wanted to make a statement, he could say, and he's been arrested before, so why not do it again? Come and get me. Right. As far as I'm concerned, we're saying to the police department, which he's the chair of the board of directors for the Vancouver Police Department, saying, hands down, like let's not, decriminalization now is a thing in Vancouver. Sorry, we are now officially decriminalizing, possession of drugs in Vancouver. That's a statement. We are no longer.
Does he have the ability to do that though?
Well, if you want to make a statement, but if you're just going to write a strongly worded letter asking the federal government to change the regulation, okay, great, yeah, okay. Good luck with that. I mean, that's not lobbying. And if he really wants to make an impact, then he's got to do something that's impactful. And that's not impactful. That is simply redundant because we've done it before. We've asked for it before. Sam Sullivan, I think, even brought it up in 2005 when he was the mayor. So it's not new. It's definitely a solution that's been talked about. It's been touted by the Vancouver Coastal Health many times over the last several years. They've been putting requests in. They've asked the federal government. They're aware. The prime minister has talked about it. So I'm not quite sure what he was trying to achieve by this press conference and to say he's going to be sending this letter asking for this. I don't understand what his. I just don't understand. It's a mystery to me because I'm sitting there going, in the same week he's doing that, which is of course, okay, it's an issue. It's drugs and what's going on in the downtown east side, all that stuff, and the overdose crisis. Absolutely, we have an issue. We also have this issue with this COVID crisis. And so we have all these things going on, but I feel like what is happening though for most of us day to day to help us survive, certainly what appears to be just another year, looks like we have 3 solutions to this virus now that are effective and then jam me up, put them in every single part of my body.
All of me.
Put them in every whatever orifice you need to jam that thing into, I'll take it. So
1 and 1A in line for vaccines of all sorts. I will paraphrase the Unspun of George Affleck there. No, I'm right there with you. But I mean, maybe that would be, I think that's what is making me very frustrated with the leadership in our municipality. Because unlike other jurisdictions, like right over there and right over there and right over there, there's significant leadership and steps being taken to help the people of their respective cities on a regular basis. And I'm not just talking about Mayor McDreamy, because I get emails like, you know, a Mayor McDreamy thing. I'm like, no.
I was going to say Brad West because I thought, should we bring Brad West? But,
I like Brad West a lot, but I give great credit to the mayor of Delta. He's unbelievable. We've got some great leadership all over the Lower Mainland, Southern BC. We've got some unbelievable.
There's innovative shit going on that's making a difference on a local level, but it ain't in Vancouver. I'm not seeing it.
And it's a twofold problem, right? Like or a multi-pronged problem or issue. Because I don't know about you, but I often when I get pushback from people like, my wife works at City Hall, or my husband is on staff there, and they're all as frustrated as you are. You have no idea how
I
difficult it
bet
is.
they are with that mayor.
But that's the part of this that I think is belongs in Unspun. That's part of what we do, George. While people are mad at everybody inside that City Hall building, there are some people working their butts off doing things that they're like, I can't believe
I-
that this.
Yes, this is not an attack on staff, although I must say, 43 comms people, I do have a challenge with that, but it's not to attack on them personally. I'm sure they're all very competent people, but do we need that many? It's twice in this. We haven't used these numbers in months.
We need to
anyways, but it's like
get right back to our hydration.
There are competent people across the board in the City Hall. Amazing staff, amazing. I always, preface when I was in office, I would, preface that, but also ask them the tough questions. You have to give them leadership. You have to give them guidance. You have to give them direction. Otherwise, they're just waiting for the direction. They understand, staff at governments understand that politicians are the ones who lay the path forward, and that they are meant to administer it. And if they don't, and if they start pushing back on government, on the policies that the government in power, whatever, if it's a majority or not a majority, whatever it is, and if their staff are pushing back, then you got to deal with that. I don't sense that there's pushback from staff. I just sense that they don't know they got this report on this whole climate emergency stuff was an approved report by the council that sits there today. They approved this. This was their idea. It was approved unanimously, I believe, and sent to staff. Then, okay, that's what you want us to do. That's what we'll do. So here's your report. Do you like it? A lot of people are saying we don't like it, but they approved the report, even though a lot of people in the public are saying this is not the right time for this report.
And that's the key, is that it's not the right time. It's not that we shouldn't eventually have the discussions around the climate action that this city takes, but we can't work independent of our region. Like this needs to be a regional approach. You said that last week on this. And listening to Councillor Fry, I listened to Councillor Fry do an interview on the day that this was going to be put forward to a vote in City Council. So it was prior to, and kind of how he was prefacing it, and maybe you can give some clarity to this, is he was like, basically what we're doing is we're just putting it out there so that we can find out the things that need to be looked at more deeply, and he kind of softened it. So we're not really voting for this. And then the next day it was like, by next year, you're going to pay more for parking.
There are parts of it that are implementing in the new year for sure. The actual, some of it is being delayed for a couple of years. Yeah. I think what Councillor Fry is trying to liken it to is the Clouds of Change, which is a document from way back when Gordon Campbell was the mayor. Gord Price was on council. He led this as a councillor. And the Clouds of Change is a document that was focused on everything in the city. But it was putting, pedestrians and bikes first and all that stuff. That was something that was written 30 years ago, a 20-year transportation plan, and the impact and all the environmental, the greenest city action plan started way back then. So, and I get the concept, and I'm proud of that what Vancouver did back then and what we continue to do. And it's a formula that you can take and implement in any city and really make a difference by putting pedestrians first and all these other things that are part of it. Greenest City Action Plan Part 1, when it was before it got branded as that. So that's Pete's argument, is that what we're doing here, we're trying to show you how you can take this thing and make this formula and use it anywhere, and the world will change. Yes, true. We've got an example of that through the Clouds of Change. I get that. But there wasn't a pandemic happening in the middle of the last time this Clouds of Change was written. There was no international pandemic, and 6,500 businesses hadn't gone out of business, and people were like going, I don't have any money. The last thing people are thinking about, and I know the environment's important, 100%, we need to think about that, of course. But right now, I just want to put food on my table for my family, and I want to keep my business alive. And these are things that I don't have time right now. Please help me. And I just
help me instead of, and I'm going to take that to the federal level. Let's take it at a municipal and go to the federal level, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is basically started to speak in terms of resetting how we build our economy, how we rebuild our economy. Is this a circuit breaker kind of moment in that regard?
Reset, yeah. It's interesting because it's sort of similar to me. I'm like, well, I get it, and we have to think about the future. And you think about Alberta relying on one industry kind of you know, back in the 60s when Seattle realized that, hey, you know what, we can't just rely on Boeing as our only one industry. You know, we have to
Right.
diversify our economy and think about that. And I guess that's kind of what Trudeau is talking about. But is now the time to think about that? Really, what we should be focused on is survival. The industries that we have that are crucial to our success as a country that pay for everything else, whether it be small business or big business, it doesn't matter. Whatever the economy we had, it's easier to bring that economy back than to build a whole new economy. I mean, that's just, I don't understand how you think you can do that. The cost to government to inject and create and innovate a new economy when we're in the middle of the world's biggest pandemic, in a massive international recession,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's a macro version of what's happening in Vancouver. Your priorities are like, whoa, okay, like let's just, you know, you got a $350 billion deficit, Canada. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah. Why don't we continue finishing and, you know, get to the end result of that? Look back. What have we done? How has it costed out? Before we go planning how we're going to change everything and cost maybe more money down the road, let's be in the moment that we're in and help people. Like George, you and I are very, very lucky, even in our struggles, even with, you know, half the family unemployed or you know, new business almost at a standstill. At least we're able to move forward. There are millions of people in this country who do not have that luxury right now. And that for me is something that when I wake up in the middle of the night, kind of in a start, I think about, you know, having been the daughter of a single parent who struggled to make ends meet. My mom struggled. She made it. She always made us feel safe and secure. I can't imagine had a pandemic happened then for her. That's happening for a lot of people right now. And for governments to be so tone deaf, it really is shocking.
Yeah, we were a struggling family. Growing up, 4 kids. My dad was a realtor, but you know, he's somewhat successful some years, some years not. He didn't know how to save. So we'd be poor and then we'd have some money and then we'd be poor, we'd sell, we'd be renting, we'd be owning. I mean, you know, it's just the life we lived growing up. But if there had been a pandemic in the middle of all that, I don't know what my dad and my mom would have done. Absolutely. The stress they were under just every day as small business owners, in a way, that's because a realtor is kind of a small business owner. You know, it's stressful just owning a business in general, for anybody. And then throw in a pandemic. And then if you're a family and you've got, or whatever, struggling is now across the board. We all now understand struggle. But I just don't get the sense that some governments understand the struggles that we're in. And it's frustrating, and I think you're seeing that, you know, happen. Maybe the face mask debate and all this stuff is a metaphor for the frustration that we're generally feeling. Like maybe this isn't about a face mask. This is about control of your life, and how do I control my life? How do I get things in order? How do we protect ourselves? And a face mask is simply a metaphor for protection and to keep yourself safe and alive. And help me, government, understand what I'm supposed to do with this face mask. Where am I supposed to wear it? When am I supposed to wear it? I don't know. I'm just feeling like, you know, and we can get into the face mask debate. But
I'd like to actually, because I have somebody on my Twitter, I should mention, follow George, at George _ Affleck, at Jody with a Y, Jody Vance, at Jody Vance on Twitter, at the Orca as well. You're following along. But I actually had somebody on Twitter who was so make masks mandatory, mandate masks now. Like it was just like he is just riding my Twitter feed to the point where I'm like, hey, could you stop that, please? Why? Masks need to be mandated, and here's why. I'm like, listen, I disagree, and I'm allowed to, in this country, say I agree that mandating masks will just make more cops and more confrontation. Alternate to your opinion that masks will remove those conflicts and confrontations. So that was his stance. So I just went, you know what? Block. And today, just before coming on here, had somebody who I guess is a fan of that dude. I don't even know his name. His handle's all like emojis and stuff. I have no idea. And one of his friends, I guess, added me and said, you know, I'm surprised that Jody Vance would block somebody of the likes of blah, blah, blah. And I literally like, you're concerned with who I'm blocking on Twitter? Weird. This is weird. Like, this is where we're at.
Well, you're like a mask person. You're a big advocate of masks. You were one of the
early adopter. Yeah. Yes.
So, you know, and I think that, and again, we see an end. We see an end. It's coming, everybody. You know, we need to, if we can just keep control of ourselves for another year, just
one more year.
Stay calm,
Yeah.
What's this?
Be kind. Stay safe. Oh my God. And you know what, George? If I may, maybe find a little light. You and I have talked about me being a little bit of Ebenezer Scrooge, a little bit. I'm not big into the
festivity,
pomp and circumstance of Christmas. I love the food. I love the cocktails. And I love the people. I love that part of Christmas. I don't like I have to shop and I have to spend and now I have to buy a gift for this one and that one and that one and this person gave this person a gift and now I've got a secret Santa that I got to do the thing and that, like, those things just drive me bonkers, right? So usually the mandate in this house, Brian loves Christmas, caveat, my
same with me and Amanda, it's like same thing.
Right, they love it. And they kind of pull it out in your face like, see,
can we start watching Christmas movies? When does Christmas
starts whistling Christmas carols. But my thing is December 1st.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
You can put it up. December 26th, it all comes down. It's a real tree. That's it. For 2 weeks, we have a real tree, and that's it. And then once it's over,
you take Boxing Day seriously. Things
very
are going
seriously. But I get so relaxed as soon as this is all over. Except for this year, it's funny because after Remembrance Day, here we are in our little bubble, and we started going through stuff from storage and decided, you know what, let's go through all of our Christmas stuff and get rid of the stuff we don't want. Yeah. And I said, you know what? Go ahead, put it up.
Oh my God.
I did.
Your call this week. I mean, it's too early for me. I can't. I would push back. I get it though. I get it though, because I think, we're looking for some happiness and light.
Just some light.
Literal light bulbs.
Yeah.
Put in our homes and outside to light up our lives. And it's right now because it's so dark. It's
so dark.
It's like, all this stuff going on. But hey, stay calm, be kind, and carry on. What was it?
Be safe. You almost had the DVH. You almost had it, George Affleck.
I just mixing up that British thing. It's keep, carry on, everyone.
That's right. Keep calm and carry on, and stick to the public health orders. The new strict orders are difficult for everybody, but they're in place to try and get us to just stop moving. And this is the one thing. There are two things that I just wanted to finish with, if we could, on the Sunspun. At this sort of pivotal time where our COVID numbers are terrifying so many people. People are stressed out. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who is anxious, and she is anyway, so a pandemic is not helping her. So, I use the analogy of, you look at the lake, and you're going to swim across the lake on a beautiful sunny summer day, and you get halfway across the lake and you're swimming, and halfway across the weather turns and you're like, this isn't what I signed up for. And you know what? Maybe I'm too far. I'm too tired. I'm not going to make it all the way across the lake. And then you realize, well, you can't go back. You have to keep going forward. That's where we are right now in this pandemic. In my mind, I have we're more than halfway. We're going to make it across the lake. We're going to make it across this difficult, turbulent time. And we're going to come out the other side. Like, we have to methodically count the moments that we can stay safe on our way to every day it gets better. As soon as we get some prophylactic treatments or some vaccines in the hopper, sure, we're still going to have to wear masks and physically distance for maybe even a year or more, who knows, but it's going to get better.
We can do this.
We can do this.
Come on.
Come on, people. That's really what I wanted to say. We can make it.
We can do it. I don't know what else to say.
I thought you were going to say, be kind, be calm.
Stiff upper lip.
Carry on.
Stiff upper lip. No? Bye.